It is time for the underdog, and what an underdog we have. It's probably the year of the underdog so far. I don't know.
And it's only getting better, yeah, every time. So
Apparently so, yes. And we're playing against about the same tournament again, too, right?
same tournament again,
Like last
Batumi.
like last month.
Yeah, the woman individual championship,
Mhm.
and well, 15 years old girl from Ukraine totally crushed the field. 9 out of 11, winning every round against some players 200 points rating more than she had, and well, becoming European champion along the
Yeah.
way. Absolutely uh,
What
very
a
special
what a
performance.
fairy tale it is.
A fairy tale story, exactly. And to be honest, it was fully deserved. I mean, in such a
Mhm.
tournament, 11 rounds, there are always some moments that you need a bit of luck. And she also had a bit of her luck. But in most of the games, she was really totally outplaying most of her opponents. So I thought it was a very special result. And for this underdog, I would like to have a look at her game. She played in round nine against the European Women's Champion from 2024 from Azerbaijan, Ulviyya Fataliyeva. But all the attention should go out to Anastasiia Hnatyshyn, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, they're
Um,
talking about her name. I haven't heard anything of her before.
well,
Nothing.
she's really young, 15 years old.
Yeah.
She hasn't really impressed me a lot with her earlier results, but okay, it's also because I cannot follow everyone. But now I will never forget her name. She moved up 200 places on the ranking. So with this epic performance, she had a rating performance of 2580, which is almost a grandmaster norm. Um, she's winning over 200 rating points, so she will be like 2465 rated,
My
which means
goodness.
number 17, number 15 in the world. So that is something we will never forget. The only curious thing personally I'm looking forward to is she really worth her new rating? Yeah, like you
Hmm.
need to get to used to the new situation. That your opponents will look at you differently. Is she really worth that level? Will she manage to stay in that top 20 in the world, or will she have some sort of rating correction because of this amazing result? We'll find out.
Yes.
Um, anyway, her game in round nine is really nice. So I want to have a look at it with you, Arne.
Looking
Um,
forward to this. Yeah, I haven't watched any of her games, so I'm happy that we are analyzing one of them.
yeah, and she's playing with the black pieces.
Mhm.
So against e4, she plays the Sicilian. Knight c3, knight c6, bishop b5, like a close Sicilian. Knight e4, knight f3, a6, all well-known stuff. Bishop d3. If you're not familiar to this opening, you think like, why on earth would you put a bishop on d3? Well, that bishop is soon gonna move again. Um, after g6, the main continuation, white can decide whether to castle here first or just capture right away. Knight takes d4, pawn takes d4, attacking the knight on c3, so the knight goes back to e2. Attacking the pawn on d4. Two options for black. The most logical move here is bishop g7 to develop the bishop and protect the pawn, but d5 is actually a nice way to indirectly defend the pawn as you're trying
Oh,
to open up the center. So
yes,
that
you
is,
cannot take that. I didn't, never saw this before.
yeah, now this is a nice idea worth remembering. It's still a pretty well-known theory, but bishop g7 has also been seen as a good move. Um, yeah, now white got to decide on how to develop the bishop at some point into play. I mean, you can castle here first, which is a decent option as well. But what you're going to do with the bishop? And well, the main plan for white is trying to get rid of that pawn on c3 here with the move c3. You want to challenge that pawn on d4. And after taking, you are going to recapture with your d pawn so that you're opening up the path for the bishop, and well, looks like a okay position for both sides.
Sure.
But in the game, they followed the move bishop c4, and bishop c4 has the plan of preparing the move d3, and then the bishop can be developed in a different way. And there are some options. B5 looks like a logical move, which was played in the game. I want to point out a bizarre idea mentioned by the computer, which is even stronger than the move played by Anastasiia. It's the move D5. And I guess that nobody would have seen this idea at the board. It's a very strange looking idea. If you take with the bishop, you go knight f6, and you're going to regain the pawn one way or another. If the bishop moves,
Okay.
the pawn on e4 can be taken. If you do take with the pawn, now another bizarre idea, you go b5. Attack the bishop. If bishop goes away, before white gets the chance to play d3, you play that move yourself. And you get this unusual position in which white is up 2 pawns. But look at this triple pawn on the d file.
And I'm also looking at the bishop on c1.
Yeah, the bishop on c1, but that's the main point. And black will get fantastic play here. And will regain 1 pawn, maybe a second pawn as well at some point. This would have offered black already a clear advantage. And that's
That
the
is
reason why
fascinating.
White's opening concept has not worked out really well, but missed a chance. Let's have a look. b5 played, bishop d5, hitting the rook. Rook goes away, white goes d3. So now things are getting a little bit more calmer again. Black can think about chasing the bishop back, but well, let's have a look. Bishop b7 played, so the bishops are going to be swapped, and white starts some sort of an initiative on the king side with f4 in the true spirit of a lot of closed Sicilians. f4, d6, castling, queen b6 played, f5. So you see white is already looking for some ideas to open the f file at some point. Knight goes to f6. And here knight f4 was played. And well, there were a lot of different options. Nothing was forced by any means, but well, we get an interesting fight in which black has a double pawn on the d file, but there are also ideas to exert pressure against the backward pawn on c2. Queen c5 played, and white went bishop d2. And now it's very important that you shouldn't be too eager. Like almost never in these Sicilians, you want to take the pawn on f5. If you take here with the idea that it's protected by the queen, white can play this excellent move, knight h5. So that you're opening up the f file for the rook. So if you take the knight, you're not going to take back the knight on h5, but you take with the rook, attacking the queen, attacking the knight, and white is getting a massive attack. All the pieces will just flow to the king side.
Perfect.
That's why black just castled here. And what do you think of this position? Do you feel comfortable in such position as black, trusting your play in on the queen side in the center, or would you fear any sort of attacking ideas by white? What's your personal feeling here?
Oof. I have the feeling this is very balanced. So I think I would prefer white because of the attacking, but to be fair, cannot really see how to break through unless I am committing to g4, g5, h4, and then. But often enough, things like this also backfire, so I'm not sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem. Like if it was just analysis or a blitz game, you would bring up
Yeah.
your pawns like that. But in a classical game, you feel like that can also easily backfire, as you say. So let's see what happened. White first played here this move b4. Questionable move. I to be honest, I don't see the exact point of playing it.
Okay, so here's one thought, one tiny thought. Because I was looking at the very crazy move, which probably is not working, knight takes e4, followed up by d3, followed up by queen takes c2. But yeah, as I said, probably.
Well, you're sacrificing a piece to open up the center. You get some pawns for it. Could be true. But
And the rook is falling on a1, maybe. Look
well,
at that.
not when the pawn is on b2, actually.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So,
True.
but I understand your concept. There are always ideas for black
Okay.
to try to open up the center. But if you want to attack with g4 and h4, I don't think you need to play b4. That's my main
Yeah,
take. But let's see what happens. b4 played, queen c8, and now g4. What would you play here with black? Do you have any idea how to consolidate your position?
I do. I would probably try g5 and h6.
Try to set up a blockade.
Yes,
Um,
some cement.
Cement the structure. Interesting. If you do that, you're keeping the F file closed, but you gotta reckon with moves like knight g2 and probably even h4 will be played soon.
Hmm.
And I guess that the position will be opened at some point anyway. So, as a rule of thumb, don't play too many pawn moves in front of your king.
Hmm.
Black is better advised here to keep the structure intact and played here this move, knight d7. I think it's a nice idea.
Okay.
So that the knight can come over to e5, which is a slightly more active post for the knight. And white needs to think how to continue here. Probably a move like knight d5. It's interesting to hit the pawn, to open up the path for the bishop. It's not like white is much better. It's a game. Anything can happen. But white had a different idea. Very, very ambitious plan with rook f3. Knight goes to
Wow.
e5 with tempo. Yeah, that's
And
what
rook
black had.
h3 or
And now the rook comes over to h3. And you see that since the knight has moved away from f6 to e5, h7 is a little bit more vulnerable. But my question for you and the viewers, what do you think? How should black anticipate the upcoming attack by white?
such a good question. Hmm. Well, I know you mentioned not too many pawn moves. Yeah, well, and I think I agree. H6 doesn't help. H5 doesn't help. G5 doesn't help. Ooh, ooh.
So you want to keep your king side intact, but what are you going to do instead? Are you just going to keep waiting for a longer period of time, or are you looking for some sort of counterplay?
I've tried a counter with rook b7.
Rook c7, yeah,
C7, pardon.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good idea. Often, but it could
Hmm.
always run into knight d5 when the rook gets under an attack, and you don't have the chance here to take on c2 because there's also knight takes e7 after that. So, but keep the idea in mind. Maybe you need your rook there later. In general, yeah, when you're facing an attack, what is an important thing to do?
Find a counter
Find a
attack.
counter and open the center. So I
Okay.
think Anastasia played here very, very nice plan. She strikes back here with the move e6. I said no pawn moves, but I said pawn moves in front of your king. This
Yeah.
is a pawn move in the center, trying to open the center. And once the center is open, you probably have better possibilities to reach the enemy's king. White played bishop e1. Maybe a remarkable move, but the bishop is heading over to h4.
What a nice file.
Let's have a look. d5 played. Another pawn break. We are not counting the pawns. Even if you would lose a pawn somehow, imagine that the e file will be opened and the queen can come over here. You will feel that the white king is totally exposed. So I don't think this is something you have to calculate. You just play it intuitively. And yeah, I think black's pieces will come alive very soon. Like for instance, if you take here on d5, we can even take on f5, and the queen is even protecting the f5 square. So white's pawn structure is just collapsing here. Instead, bishop h4 was played. And now things are getting really interesting as white is trying to generate some threats on the king side.
Yeah.
What would you play here with black?
Now rook c7.
That's your move, huh? That's
No,
your
it,
move.
it wouldn't work because it looks scary. So
Maybe it's possible, but what do you think? What is white's idea with the last move, bishop h4?
maybe even f6. But
f6 is the main idea.
yeah.
It's a positional threat actually to hit the bishop, and then the bishop could easily be locked up in the corner.
Okay, are we
Um,
playing f6 instead? No, it cannot work.
no, e6 is gonna be hanging then,
Yeah.
so we don't play f6. What black can do is anticipate a threat by moving the rook away. This is a difficult move. Was not played by Anastasiia. The point is that after f6, the bishop can come back to f8. And then it's still somewhat safer placed than it would be on h8. Let's have a look, because what happened in the game is very understandable. Black continued opening up the center, took on e4. And rather than recapturing, first f6, hitting the bishop. Bishop got to go back. And now d takes e4. And the bishop is kind of defending the g7 square, so you're not risking anything like getting mated. But there's this positional danger that your bishop will be out of play for the rest of the game.
I'd much prefer white here, to be honest.
Yeah, and honestly, things aren't that simple. It's a very complicated position. Rook c7, finally your move, Arne, was played.
Told you.
Yeah, yeah, you could have played there as well. Knight d3. So no chance to take the pawn on c2. As the knight is under attack, if black would capture, you take back with the c-pawn, and yeah, you've managed to get rid of the pawn weakness, so that is okay for white. Instead, there follows the move knight c4.
Oh, yeah,
Looking for
exactly. That's what I
counterplay.
thought of.
Nice idea.
That looks very good.
What do you think? What is white gonna try to do here?
Maybe pull back the bishop to f2 because the threat of knight e3 is significant in my opinion.
Yes, well, knight e3 is a serious threat. It's just that bishop f2 is a bit passive, but white played the same idea just by placing the bishop on g5 instead. So you're keeping also this pawn protected. That's one of the main benefits.
Yeah, true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but what is next? What is black gonna do now? I'll tell you, if you're not fast enough, there is gonna follow queen e1, queen h4,
Yeah,
and checkmate one day.
that's super unpleasant.
And another threat, by the way, I forgot to mention, is to play e5, so that the pawns are nicely connected again. And then this bishop on h8 will be buried for the rest of the game. So what is next? We need to act here as black.
That's rough. How did she win this? This
What is black's plan here to
is-
try to untangle?
I wish I knew, Robert. I wish I knew.
I will show you.
Okay, show me.
Yeah, e5. It's a very
Thought
nice
of this,
idea.
but
There are 2 points behind this move. The first thing is that the pawn on f6 will be isolated now, cannot be protected by a white pawn. And the second thing is there's no time to carry out this plan because you're opening up the diagonal for the queen.
oh,
So the queen on d1 needs to keep the pawn on g4 protected.
okay.
That's why queen f3 was played.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, but what if it just takes one move longer with queen f3? And apparently that's the idea.
Well, let's have a look. Now, trying to prevent white's plan with queen g3, queen h4, black played rook c6.
Okay.
Keeping an eye on the pawn on f6. And this is a critical moment in the game. This is where everything is happening right now. White made a huge mistake and black went on to win in a beautiful manner. But the position is really sharp. You feel like one bad move and black could also get crushed here very, very soon. White should probably go for queen g3 anyway. It was not played, as I said. And the point is that you cannot take on f6 here, getting rid of the pawn, because at the end there is queen h4, and the rook is also unprotected. So in that case, after queen g3, what you need to do is some very difficult idea to find. It is the move h5. I just said a minute ago that don't play pawn moves in front of your king, but you sometimes have to do it to stop the mating ideas. The trick is, if you take the pawn, then you're going to take on f6. And black is sort of breaking free here. Like, for instance, if you take on g6, I can take on g5, queen takes g5, rook takes g6, and the queen is lost. Fantastic counterattack
Very
by,
cool.
by black. And obviously, this is not forced, but it also shows the dangers white is facing when advancing the pawns in front of in front of your own king. So this could have led to razor sharp type of attacking ideas for both sides. But white instead came up with this idea, rook h6. It's a kind of an original piece configuration on the king side, but the plan is pretty clear. Is that you want to bring the queen over to
Queen
h3,
h3, exactly.
take on h7 and mate, yeah? So how are you going to deal with that threat here as black?
This is a fascinating game, I have to say. So if I have a position like this, and I'm seeing this so obvious, rook h7, queen h3, I would feel horrible because it already feels like I lost already.
Look for counterplay. What
I
can you
try.
do here as black to discourage white from playing the move queen h3?
Well, we have to. What do we do here? So crazy.
No idea?
I have one idea. Take on f6 with the bishop.
Giving up a piece. Could
Yeah.
be, but it's sort of the last thing I would like to do.
I would then, yeah, take with the rook and then give a check on g4 with the queen. But also taking on f4, it just doesn't feel like it's working. So no, I'm a little off right now, it seems.
Look at your most active piece. Which piece is it?
Most active, the knight.
It's the knight. How can the knight help you here?
Okay, it can go to e3 actually.
Let's do that. Knight e3. Why is this such a good move? Because you're attacking the pawn on g4 one more time. So there's no time for white to go queen h3 as it runs into queen takes g4. Queens will be exchanged. After knight e3, white captured on e3. But what do you play here?
You don't capture back, do you?
You don't have to. Any other candidate move? Any other forcing move here for black?
We're just missing one whole piece. Oh
Just
wait,
for one-
okay, it's a zwischen move. It's an
Zwischenzug.
intermezzo, yes.
Intermezzootje, yeah.
Rook takes
Rook-
f6. I'm so
Rook takes
blind.
f6.
My goodness.
Yeah. You're attacking the queen, so white cannot hold on to the extra piece. And, well, it's still not over yet. Queen h3, white tries to continue the attack. Now black regains the piece. Rook takes h7. Looks scary,
Oh my
right?
goodness, but bishop g7 and nothing is happening.
Bishop g7. Everything is under control. There are no mating ideas here. White tried
Crazy.
g5 to hit the rook. And
We take the queen and then we go away.
no, don't do that too quickly. It's a very human reaction, of course, to swap queens when you're under the attack. But why should black not go for the exchange of queens? If you do capture, the rook will come back into play. It will take on e3 next, and the game goes on. You're safe, but there's something better.
Really? Oh no.
It has to do with the unfortunate placement of the rook on h7. And there are a lot of good moves. You can move the rook basically anywhere to c6, but rook f4, that's an absolutely insane move, which was played in the game, but it's really strong because whenever white is going to take on c8 and you do recapture, the rook on h7, it will still be hanging. So
Yeah.
white cannot do anything with those pieces on the h file.
Okay.
White captured the rook, of course, but then its pawn takes f4, and the rook on a1 is under an attack as well. And if you move the rook somewhere, well, look at these connected passed pawns. We can even think about a move like bishop d4, or we can take the pawn on c2. But white doesn't have any threats on the h file because the bishop is an excellent defender. And at the same time, black is trying to run with its own pawns and to generate threats against the white king.
Well, white should have swapped positions with the queen and the
Yeah,
rook.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. The rook in front is not a good attacker in this case. So, well, here the position is just about to fall apart here. White tried rook takes g7, king takes, but these pawns are way too strong. The black king is safe and white's king is not. Queen f3, queen c7, protecting the pawn. Rook f1, rook d8. Very nice, classy move. There is no chance for white here to get rid of that pawn on f4, because if you take twice, there is rook d1 check, rook goes back, and then it's e2, hitting the rook, and the pawn will be promoted. Black wins.
Cute.
So queen takes f4 is not good. White played h4, but then the rook comes in, and black is taking over here. The roles are reversed. It's black who's on the attack now.
Hmm.
c3 played. This is still a tricky move, hoping that black is going to take, but of course Anastasiia was not thinking about to do that because it allows queen takes f4 with counterplay. So instead black tried queen d6. Still the pawn on f4 cannot be taken because of the same idea with e2 and rook d1. White tried h5, trying to open the position, but now queen e5, hitting the pawn on g5. h6, king can just go back safely. Also, king h7 was fine, but there are a lot of good options, and white is unable to get rid of the pawns. Queen takes g5 is the threat. Queen g4 played. Now you push the pawn. Rook e1. Queen takes e4.
Checks
Yeah,
don't matter, do they?
it's just one check, and after that, queen e3 can just be can be played. There's a very strong attack by black here as well. King h2, queen e3 anyway. So if the queen is going somewhere, you have always queen g3 with check, and the rook will be hanging as well. King g2 played, and now very cute finish. There are different ways to convert, but what do you think? What is nice here to do?
Is it just swapping queens on g3, then taking on a2 and just winning the game with Zugzwang?
Well, now the roles are reversed. So when you're on the attack, I would only swap queens if it's a concrete forced win. Otherwise, better keep queens on the board.
Okay.
And there's a nice little tactical idea to try to promote a pawn. And that means we need to get rid of the main defender, which is the rook on e1. And black played here the move rook d1.
Yeah, rook d1 is, yeah, it's obvious. So if the rook takes on e2, we give a check on g1.
You can give a check on g1. You can probably give with a queen or with a rook, but
Yeah.
this should be good enough. And taking with the queen doesn't help because the rook is hanging. And if you take on d1, this is important because the queen is still protecting the d1 square. What is black's idea in that case?
Okay, I thought I thought I got it already, but is it queen g3? No, that's horrible.
It's another check. It's not your best day, Arne, right? You're not in your best shape, I think. Any other checks for black here?
Yeah, well, e4, but
Yeah, look at all the pieces.
is it... That doesn't help either. f3.
F3 check.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a beautiful idea because you're disconnecting the queen from defending the rook. If the king goes anywhere, you take on d1, you get a new queen. If you take on f3, you swap the queens with check, and you get a new queen yourself. That's the way how the game ended. And this was a crucial victory for Anastasiia to get into the lead. And yeah, that's very crucial win for her.
Quite fantastic. What a game, and what power she possesses. And interesting that her opponents made like slight mistakes here and there, but when
I
it
was
comes,
I was actually very impressed how cool she stayed when white started this kind of attack. I think especially when playing against higher rated opponents, you feel like, oh no, this is dangerous. Stronger players, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
No, she kept herself cool and Well, she grabbed her chances, opened the center, and took over.
I'm looking forward to hear more of her. And once again, as we had it a couple of times already in our show, maybe in one of the next years, she will be the one losing against an underdog after
Yeah,
all.
she will never be an underdog again.
We will see about that. I'm very curious. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for this great analysis. We see each other soon again.
See you next
Until
time.
then.